Today, I will show you a perfect method of achieving your bustier with yoke. Hi soulmates, my name is Tekla Ezugu, and in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to achieve this beautiful bustier on your screen right now. I will show you how to properly pad a bustier and how to attach a yoke. So if this sounds like something that I like to learn, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to this channel, and remember to turn on your notification bell so that you, my precious one, will be the very first person to know any day and any time we upload a new tutorial. For this tutorial, I'll be using my Ankara fabric, which is about 1 yard, my lining, which is about half yard, and I'll also be using this chantilly lace for the neck, and it is just about half yard as well. Then I have my bias in case you want to bias the neck. I also have my soft gum, and then I have my bust pad. This is what we'll be using to pad the bust. It's a thick pad. I also have my handmade custom tailor's ham, my hemming gum, and then my tools as well. So right now, let's ride into the tutorial. I now went ahead to cut my pattern on my fabric. I added 1/2 inch allowance around it, and this on the side I added 1 inch allowance. Then for the yoke, I also went ahead to cut it out. I added 1/2 inch round it. I also did the same thing on the back as well. So this is actually the sewing tutorial of the pattern drafting that we did earlier. I am going to leave the link of that pattern drafting in the description box of this video. So if you have not seen the pattern drafting, just watch it and then continue with us on this particular video. But if you have already watched it, then let's just dive into the sewing tutorial. So right now, I am going to open up my main fabric and my lining, and I'm going to go ahead to iron my soft gum to it. Now, if you want this your bustier to be structured, please go ahead and add thick gum to it. For me, I just want it soft, so I added my soft gum to it. So you can see this is after I was done ironing the gum. You can see what I have. You can see how it's already looking. So we are now going to go ahead and cut the bust pad. You can see the bust pad that I want to use. It's actually the thick kind of bust pad because this helps to give a structured look on your corset, on your bustier, sorry. So right now I want my pad to stop on the under bust. I notched the under bust point earlier on before removing the pattern paper on it. So I just went ahead to pin that down, and I am going to go ahead to cut just with the shape that I already have on my fabric. So you can see the way I am cutting that. I'll just carefully cut that out. And this very thing that I'm cutting now is for the bust area alone, and kindly remember that it stopped right on the under bust. Some people prefer to do theirs and it to extend to the full length, which is okay, but if you can't work with it like this, like that, just make sure that your own stops on the under bust. So you can see what I have. Can you see that? So right now I am going to go ahead and cut out the other two sides as well, the side that will be on the left and the right side. So I'm just going to show you how to cut that out. And this particular side, when you are cutting it, make sure that it does not get to the seam allowance. The ideal thing to use is 1/2 of your fabric. I'm just using that chalk to give you an idea of maybe what you should cut out. On the up part, you can also decide to trim it a little if you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out, and I will show you exactly what I have. So you can see what I've cut out. I've also gone ahead to use hemming gum to gum it together to my fabric. So right now you are going to go ahead to join it. Now this is how you join it. Stitch on the under bust first. Secure the two under busts. Then from that particular place, you now stitch down to the end before you now come back to sew to the up part. So after I was done sewing, this is what I have. I am just going to go ahead to notch that out. Remember that if you don't notch it and then you open it up, you are going to have folds. and you are also likely to have excess allowance on all sides, right? So after notching, I'm just turning it out so that you see exactly what I have. So you can see that this is already looking structured and is already coming out nice. If you want it more structured, that place I added soft wording, please add paper gum or peplum stay to it. So right now I'm going to flip it and we are going to open up the seam allowance, iron it down with iron and steam to press it open inside. The seam allowance inside, we are going to press it open just like you can see me doing. By doing all these things, your bustier is going to be perfect on your client's bust. So I am going to go ahead, put in some water. If you have steam iron, just use your steam iron to iron it open, and I'll just use my iron to iron the seam allowance open from the beginning to the end. So after ironing, you can see how my bustier is already looking. You can see all the seam allowances already out and flat. So right now I'm going to use my soft wording to cover the seam allowance, but before doing that, I'm also going to trim out some part of the seam allowance because it's actually looking excessive. So this is how I'm going to use this soft gum to iron on top of it, but I'm just going to go ahead to trim it out a little bit. If you used up to ½ inch for the sewing, then definitely you will need to trim out some parts. But if maybe you use just 1/4 inch, then you might not necessarily need to trim everything. So after trimming and ironing my soft gum to it, this is what I have. Can you see how structured and perfect this is looking? And your bustier is already getting ready. So for the yoke, I did cut out two because I want to use one to turn the other side. If you don't want to turn it, you can just use the bias I showed you earlier to turn the neckline. So what I'm going to do is that for that front part, I'm going to turn the neck part of it, and then I will top stitch on the armhole side and then on the back. I'll also do the same thing for the back as well on the neckline, and also I'll flip it and top stitch. So after doing that, this is what I have. Can you see how this is looking? It's already perfect. I just top stitch the shoulder and the armhole and the down part. So right now you are going to go ahead to first attach your yoke to your fabric before you turn it with lining. This is where so many people make mistake. So I am going to go ahead to carefully pin down my yoke on my bustier first. And when you pin it down on your bustier, you are also going to go round and top stitch it with just a very little allowance. So right now I'm just using my office pin to secure the yoke how it should be on my clothes. So at this point I was already done securing. You can see that center part is folding. So what you do is that you shift it or you stretch it while sewing it down. So just carefully top stitch on top of it with about 1/4 inch. Then for the back as well, I will also place my yoke on top of the back fabric. So I'm just aligning it to make sure that the yoke is exactly the same way it is, the way I drafted it on my pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch that, and it's only after this top stitching that you can now go ahead to use your lining to turn. So after top stitching the front, this is what I have. Literally just use a very small seam to sew down the yoke and the bustier. So guys, have you watched up to this moment? Please go ahead to like this video. If this is your first time on this channel, go ahead to subscribe. We have so many amazing tutorials on this channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for being here. So right now I am going to use my lining to turn the front. At that center part, you are going to be really careful with it. Make sure that when you are sewing down your lining and your yoke, you are pushing out the yoke, right? So that you don't sew the excess allowance, that particular place that has a sweetheart curve or like a V neckline. So for this particular tutorial, because I will not really be attaching this to a skirt, I'm going to turn the down part. But if you're attaching this to a skirt, please don't turn the down part, or even if you turn it, you can just sew the skirt on top. Then you can also decide that your bustier will not have this basque effect. It's just the same thing. It all depends on the shape that you give it. So I will sew the up part and the down part. I'm not going to sew the side because that is where I am going to turn it out from. Then for the back, I'm also going to use the lining as well to turn it. So guys, our online classes is still ongoing. We have classes on sculpted corset, and then we also have classes on bustier fashion business course. We also have our content calendar group where we share content that you can upload or things you can do for your fashion business every day. Literally join other tailors to do tasks every day that will improve your fashion business one step a day. We also have our WhatsApp community of tailors where you can join other tailors. It is totally free to join. All you have to do is click the WhatsApp link in the comments and it will bring you directly to my WhatsApp for inquiries. We also have our pricing strategy, which is 4,000 naira, and this helps tailors, bespoke and ready to wear tailors, to know how exactly to price their business so that they can be able to make profits. It's not just about being busy every day. Sometimes it's that you should factor in amount of it you should of the month at the end of the year. You'll be able to have something left for yourself. So all you have to do is just click the WhatsApp link or the seller link on our bio and you'll be able to get yours, and it is just 4,000 naira. So right now I have turned the front with my lining and I'm going to go ahead to give this a good press so that it will relax. I turned the up part and the down part as well. So immediately you turn it, your yoke will definitely come out, right? So I also did the same thing for the back. The only place I didn't turn is the side part because that is where I brought it out from. Then if you are joining this to your fabric, especially this back, you don't necessarily have to turn the down, right? So you can see what I have. For the back, I also turned the zipper parts, and the sides I did not turn because that is where I brought it out from. So after ironing my bustier, you can see what I have. So right now we are going to place the front, the back on top of the front so that we can be able to shape our bustier. So this is exactly how you do it even if you're attaching it to a dress. So right now I'm just going to take my round bust measurement, and whatever I have left I'll just put it down as my seam allowance, and then I'll also take for the waist as well. So I had excess of one seam, so I'm just going to use one seam to shape the clothes, right? I'll just shape it on the bust and then on the waist as well. But if you're making this as a dress, please remember to join it to your skirt part or your down part first before finally shaping it. So after doing that, I'm also going to go ahead to join the shoulders as well, right? So I'm going to make sure the shoulders are aligning, and then I'm just going to use pin to pin it down. Can you see that? So I'll just sew that, and then I am going to go ahead to come back to show you exactly what I have. So after I was done sewing that, you can see what I have. The inside seam, you can just decide to overlock it so that it doesn't fray up. You can see what I have. I am going to go ahead now to give this a good press, and I'm also going to close the zip allowance part, the part where you attach your zip, so that you can be able to see what we have exactly. So I'll just sew that down and then I will give it a good press, and this is what I have. So guys, can you see how this bustier is standing? Can you see how perfect it's looking? It's not the one that you make and then your bust point is going to be pointing. No, we don't do that here. So you can see how perfect this is. Can you see that bustier part? where your breast is going to enter. Can you see how perfect it is? So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Also remember to trim your armhole before joining your hand, your sleeves. So that is exactly what you saw me just doing now. And thank you so much for watching this video. Do you have any question? Just drop it on the comments. I'm going to attend to it. Also use the WhatsApp link to message me directly on WhatsApp for our online courses. You can also use the seller link in our bio to register for the course. So guys, until we see again in our next tutorial. I also forgot that this is a requested tutorial from one of you from this channel. I'm going to leave her name on the screen, so please, this is the video that you requested. See you in my next video. Bye. Till your girl Neckline.